quick demo or summary of this tutorial. In this tutorial, we are going to create a phone book or telephone diary application in C#. User can enter details like first name, last name, contact, email, and address. Then he can do operations like save, update, delete, view all, and search. All of the inserted records will be displayed in this table here. Using this text box, you can search values inside this table. Hi friends, welcome to .NET Mob. In this video, we are going to create a phone book or telephone diary in C# application using SQL Server. Before starting this video, I would like to ask you a favor. If you found this video helpful, please thumbs up this video. For more awesome videos like this, please subscribe to this channel .NET Mob. This is my Visual Studio 2013. So here we are going to create a Windows Form application. For that, you can click on this new project or go to file, then new, then project, or you can use the shortcut Ctrl+Shift+N. Then select Windows under Visual C#, then select Windows Form application. Then name your project here. I will name it as phone book in C#. Then select the location where you want to save this application. Then click on OK. So here we have the brand new Windows Form application with a default form 1. Inside this form, we are going to design the application UI like this. Before that, let me change some of the properties of this form. For that, right click on it, then go to properties. So here I am going to change this form title here to phone book. Then I'm going to set start position as center screen. Then I'm going to hide this maximize box and minimize box. If you can set an icon for this application, it would be good. For now, I'm going to skip that. In form design, here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 label text box pair for first name, last name, contact, email, and address. Then we have 3 buttons, save, delete, and clear. Then we have a label text box pair for search feature. Then we have a data grid view. So here we are going to add those controls into this form. First of all, we need to open toolbox. Okay, if you can't see this toolbox, you can go to view, then click on toolbox here. So first of all, I'm going to add labels. For that, double click on this table. So it will add a label into this form. Like this, we need 4 more labels. Like this, we need 5 text boxes. For that, look for text box, then double click. Like this, we need 4 more text boxes. So in total, we have 5 text boxes. Now we need 3 buttons. For search purpose, we need 1 label text box pair. For that, let me add 1 more label and 1 text box. Double click on text box here. Finally, we need a data grid view. For now, I will post this recording. After arranging these form elements into this UI, I will be back. Boom. So now we have created application interface that looks like our plan. Except these columns, we have to add these columns into this data grid view that we can add after creating the database. First of all, I have changed controls font into Sergio UI 12PT. Then I have named these text boxes with appropriate name. So this one has the name txt first name that you can see here, txt first name. Then we have txt last name, txt contact, txt email, txt address. This text box is multi-line, so we can add multiple lines into this address text box. I use txt as a prefix while naming text boxes. Then we have btn save, then btn delete, btn clear. I use btn as prefix for naming buttons. Then we have search text box as txt search. Then we have data grid view dgv phone book. Before continuing with this project, we have to create our SQL Server database. This is my Management Studio 2014. So here we have connected to SQLE 2012 SQL Server instance. Inside the instance, I'm going to create a new database. For that, right click on databases, then click on new database. Then name your DB here. I will name it as phone book DB. Then click on OK. Newly created database can be seen here. I'm going to create a new table. Right click on tables, then click on table. Then we have to enter column details here. First of all, phone book ID as integer. Then we have first name as worker 50. Then we have last name as worker 50. Then we have contact as worker 50. Then we have email as worker 50. Then we have address as worker 250. Now I want to make this phone book ID as a primary key for the table. For that, right click, then click on set primary key. I want to make the same column phone book ID as the identity specification for this column. So go to column properties, then expand identity specification. Then is identity is to be set as yes. So we don't want to insert values into this phone book ID. SQL Server will take care of that. It will start from 1 and incremented by 1 upon new record insertion. In order to save this table, we can use the shortcut Ctrl S or click on this save button here. It will open another window. Name your table here. I will name it as phone book. Click on OK. Newly created tables can be seen under tables node. If you can't see this table here, right click on it, then click on refresh. Now let me close this design window. Now we have to create 5 stored procedures. For that, click on new query here. Make sure that from this drop down we have selected new database. In order to create a stored procedure, we can start like this: create pros, then stored procedure name. In this case, it will be contact, add or edit. Below that, we have to pass parameters for this stored procedure. So first of all, phone book ID as integer. Then we have first name as worker 50. Like this, we need 4 more parameters. So I will copy this 4 times. Instead of first name, we have last name. Then we have contact, email, and address. As inside this stored procedure, we are going to do 2 operations: insert and update, or add or edit operations. Some of you may create separate stored procedure for insert and update, but I would suggest you to combine these stored procedures because both of these stored procedure has almost same parameter list. If you can combine them, we can reduce codes in SQL query as well as C# code. So first of all, we will check whether phone book ID is 0 or not. If it is equal to 0, then we will write insert query here. In the else part, we will do the update operation. Okay, so here insert into phone book. We have to pass column names here: first name, then last name, contact, email, and address. Now we need to pass values for this insert query. For that, I will copy this column list from here. Then I can add @ symbol before these column names. Since we have same name for parameter list as column names, so in this insert query we don't want to insert values into auto increment column phone book ID. SQL Server will take care of that. In the else part, we will update this record, update phone book set. So let me copy this column names from here and pasting here. And we can set these values with appropriate parameters. Where phone book ID is equal to given phone book ID. In order to create this stored procedure, phone book ID. In order to create this stored procedure, you can click on this execute button, or you can use the shortcut F5. So here we have created the stored procedure. In order to see the newly created stored procedure, expand programmability, then expand stored procedures. Then you should see this stored procedure. Otherwise, right click, then click on refresh. So here we have the new stored procedure: contact, add, or edit. Next, we are going to create a stored procedure to retrieve all the records inside the table. For that, create rows, contact, view all. We don't have any parameter for this stored procedure. Select star from phone book. In order to create this stored procedure, click on execute. Now we need to create another stored procedure: contact view by ID. Contact view by ID. For this stored procedure, we have one parameter, phone book ID, as integer. With this stored procedure, we are going to retrieve a phone book record details with given ID. For that, select star from phone book where phone book ID is equal to given phone book ID. Click on execute. Now we have to create two more stored procedures. Next one is contact delete by ID. So for this stored procedure, we have one parameter, phone book ID, as integer. Inside this stored procedure, we are going to delete a phone book record using phone book ID. For that, delete from phone book where phone book ID equals given phone book ID. Click on execute. Finally, we have contact search by value. For this stored procedure, we have one parameter, search value, as workout 50. Inside this stored procedure, we are going to retrieve all the records which contains search value either in first name or in last name. So query will be like this: select star from phone book where first name like percentage symbol plus search value plus percentage symbol. We have to do same filter for last name also. Last name. So here we have used wildcard operator, percentage and like to match anywhere in first name or last name. In order to create this stored procedure, click on execute here. So if you refresh this folder, you can see all of this stored procedure that we have just created. Now back to Visual Studio. First of all, we are going to implement save or insert operation. For that, let me switch to code behind. Right click, then click on view code. Let me declare a string variable for storing connection string. I will paste my DB connection string inside these codes. So let me paste my DB connection string here. Now we have to declare one more variable, phone book ID. I will initialize with 0. For insert or update operation, we have three mandatory fields: first name, last name, and contact. So we have to mark these three fields here. For that, I'm going to drag one label from here, and I will change this label text to asterisk mark. Let me change its font color to red, and I will change its font size to somewhere 14. Click on OK. Like this, we need two more labels. For that, hold Control, then drag this label. You need one more label, hold Control, then drag. That's it. Now we are going to implement this insert operation inside save button click event. In order to generate the event, double click on it. First of all, we are going to make sure that all of these mandatory fields are filled. For that, if txt first name dot text dot trim function will remove space from both ends is not equal to empty string. Now we have to check this same condition for other text box also. Instead of txt first name, we have txt last name, then we have txt contact. So if all of these text boxes are not empty, we will go for insert operation. Otherwise we will show message box dot show. So message will be like this: please fill mandatory fields. Inside this if block, we are going to insert values from this form controls into phone book table. For that, I'm going to use using statement. As a resource, we are going to create an object of SQL connection as SQL con equals new SQL connection. So here we will pass our connection string. Using statement is a best practice when you are going to do DB interaction in C# code, because it will automatically close SQL connection. We don't want to close the SQL connection. It will work even if there is any error in between these line of execution. So first of all, we are going to open this connection, sqlcon.open. Then I am going to create an SQL command object, SQL command as SQL cmd equals new SQL command. Inside that, first of all, we will pass our store procedure name, contact, add or edit. Let me copy this store procedure name from here and pasting here. As a second parameter, we have to pass SQL connection object. Then we have to pass command type here, SQL cmd dot command type equals command type dot store procedure. Then we will pass parameters values here, SQL cmd dot parameters dot add with value. First of all, parameter name. First of all, we have phone book ID, and I will pass this from the variable phone book ID. Then we have SQL cmd dot parameters dot add with value. Our second parameter will be first name. Let me copy this from here and pasting here. We will pass its value from the text box txt first name dot text dot trim. Like this, we need 4 more parameters. For that, I'm going to copy this line and pasting below that 4 times, and we have to change parameters name accordingly. Now we can execute this store procedure by calling execute non-query function, SQL cmd dot execute non-query, and finally we will show the message box dot show with message submitted successfully. With this using statement, we can insert or update a record into phone book table. Before that, we have to validate this email address whether it is in correct format or not. For that, I am going to use regular expression regex. In order to use this class, we have to use the namespace system.text.regular expression. Object name will be rec equals new regular expression. Inside that, we have to pass regular expression for email address. For now, I will paste it here. So this is the regular expression for a valid email address. Now we are going to use this regular expression match equals rec dot match. Inside that, we will pass the text from email text box txt email dot text dot trim. If validation is success, match dot success. If it is success, we will go for insert or update operation. If it is not, we will show a warning message here in the else part. Message box dot show email address is not valid. Let me run this application. For that, click on the start button here. Now let me try to check whether mandatory fields are working or not. Yes, it shows the message, please fill mandatory fields. Now I'm going to enter some test data here. James Smith, contact number. Then I will enter invalid email address. Click on save. So it is showing the message email address is not valid. Now let me try some valid email address here, james123@gmail.com. address goes here. Click on save. So it is saved successfully. Now let me confirm whether this record is inserted into our SQL Server table phone book. For that, let me open my Management Studio. Right click on the table, then click on select top 1000 rows. So here you can see the record with the exact information that we have entered into the application. After insert or update operation, we have to do two operations. One is to clear these form elements back to initial state. Then we have to show all the records from phone book table into this data grid view. Let me zoom this code here. Void clear. First of all, we will clear all the text boxes. Txt first name dot text equals txt last name dot text equals txt contact dot text equals txt email dot text equals txt address dot text equals, and we have text box for search, txt search dot text equals empty string. So this will clear all the text boxes inside the form. Then I will reset the phone book ID variable because it will change during the update operation, equal to 0. Now I will set the save button text to save string because it will change to update during update operation. So btn save dot text equals save. That's it. Now inside this button click event clear, I will call this function clear. Now we want to display all the records that we have saved into phone book table into this data grid view. Before that, we have to add columns like first name, last name, contact and email into this data grid view. In order to add columns, you can click on this right arrow here, then click on edit columns. Click on add. First column will be ID column. Header text will be ID. I want to hide this column inside this data grid view, so uncheck this visible checkbox, click on add. Then we have first name. Header text will be f dot name. Make this column visible, click on add. Then last name l dot name, click on add. Then contact. Header text will be contact, click on add. Then we have email. Header text will be e-mail, click on add. Finally we have address. I want to hide this column, click on add. Now close this dialog box. In order to fill this data grid view, we are going to make use of this stored procedure contact view all. Its query will be like this: select star from phone book. You can see this stored procedure result from here itself. Select these queries, then make sure that we have selected the database, then click on F5. So this stored procedure will return all the records inside our phone book with appropriate columns. So if you want to bind this result directly into this data grid view, we have to make sure that corresponding column data property name should be same as column name. So for this ID, I'm going to use phone book ID. Then first name, it will be first name. Then last name, then contact, email and address. Now click on OK. As you can see here, we have added 4 visible columns into this data grid view. Now if you want to adjust these columns width, you can do that. Right click on this arrow, then click on edit columns. Then under layouts, here you can see a width property. You can adjust as you wish. For now, I am going to make this first name column as a fill column so that it will take the extra space. Set auto size modem to fill, then click on OK. That's it. Now I want to change some of the properties of this data grid view. For that, right click on it, then click on properties, then set allow user to add rows to false, then allow user to delete rows to false. Then I want to make this data grid view as read only. Set read only to true. That's it. Now let's write a C# function to fill this data grid view. Void grid fill starting with using statement. As a resource, we will use SQL connection object. SQL connection as SQL con equals new SQL connection. Inside that, we will pass the connection string. First of all, we will open this connection by calling the function open. In order to retrieve results from SQL Server database, we have to use SQL data adapter. SQL data adapter as SQL DA equals new SQL data adapter. As a first parameter, we will pass store procedure name. Let me copy from here, contact view all, and pasting here. As a second parameter, we will pass SQL connection object SQL con. Below that, we will set this data adapter command type SQL DA dot select command dot command type equals command type dot store procedure. We don't have any parameter for this store procedure. Now I will create an object of data table here. DTBL equals new data table. Now we can fill this result into this C# data table by calling the fill function SQLDA.fill. As a parameter for this function, we will pass DTBL. Now we can use this data table to fill the data grid view. DGB phonebook.data source equals DTBL. That's it. Now we can call this function after insert or update operation. Also, we want to call the same function in form load event so that when form is loaded, we can see all the inserted rows in this data grid view. In order to generate the event, double click on this form, then call the function grid fill. Now let me run this application. For that, click on the start button here. So here you can see the inserted rows inside this data grid view. Next, we are going to implement update or delete operation. If user want to update or delete a record, he want to double click on that particular row. Then we will show the selected rows details in these form elements. Then we will change this button text to update. Then we will enable this delete button. Actually, we have to disable this delete button if there is no row selected for update or delete operation. That we have to do inside clear function and during the form load event. Let me do that. btn delete enable equals false, and then we will do the same during the form load event. Let me paste the same line here. Now let's create the double click event for this data grid view. For that, right click on it, then go to properties, then look for double click inside the events. To generate the event, double click on it. For that, we can start like this. If dgv phonebook dot current row dot index not equal to -1, just to make sure that selected row is a valid row. Inside that we will populate the text boxes. Txt first name dot text is equal to dgv phone book dot current row dot cell. Inside this square bracket we have to pass the index of first name column. That you can see from here, first name column is id, so second column is first name, so index will be 1 2 3 4 5. So 1 dot value to string. Now we have to do the same operation for remaining 4 text boxes. For that, let me copy this from here and pasting below that 4 times, changing text box to txt last name, txt contact, txt email, and txt address. Corresponding index 2 3 4 5. Finally we have to set this phone book id here. So phone book id is equal to convert to int 32. Then we will pass first column value into this function, that is id column. Corresponding index will be 0. Now I want to change the save button text to update, and finally we will enable delete button. Enable equals true. That's it. Let me run this application. For that, click on the start button here. In order to update this row, I can double click on this row, then it will show the corresponding row details in these form elements here. Save button text is changed into update, and we have enabled bt and delete button. If I want to edit these records, I can do that here. James1. If I click on this update button, will it update the record in database? Yes, it will update the record because we have done the update operation in save button click event itself. Let me try that. Click on this update button here. If I click on this OK button, it should refresh this data grid view and new updated James1 should be shown here. Click on OK. Yes, it is updated. Inside data grid view double click event, we have written code for updating this phone book ID here. Inside the save button click event, we have passed corresponding phone book ID here. If it is a non-zero value, we are going to update that record with given ID. That is what happened here. As I told you, like this you can combine save and update operation. Next we are going to do the delete operation. For that I am going to use delete button click event. Let me stop this application and go to design. In order to generate the click event, double click on the button. Inside the event, I am going to call the stored procedure contact delete by ID. For that, let me copy this using statement from the save button click event here and pasting here. Instead of contact add or edit, we have contact delete by ID. For this stored procedure, we have only one parameter, phone book ID. Let me get rid of other parameters. And then we will execute this stored procedure from here, and we will show the success message as deleted successfully. And after all, we will clear the form elements and we will refresh the grid. Next, we are going to do the search operation in this application. For that, I will make use of text change event of the text box search. Right click on the text box, then go to properties, then look for text changed event, double click on that. Inside the event, we are going to call this stored procedure contact search by value. For this stored procedure, we will pass values from this text box search. For that, let me copy code from this grid fill function and pasting here. Instead of contact view or stored procedure, we have to call this stored procedure contact search by value, replacing the stored procedure. For this stored procedure, we have a parameter SQL dot select command dot parameters dot add with value. Let me copy the parameter name from here and pasting here, and we will pass value into this parameter from the text box txt search dot text dot trim, and we will fill that result into DTBL, and finally we will set it as the data grid view data source. Now let me run this application. Let me add two more records into this application. As per the stored procedure written for the search purpose, whatever we have passed as a search value will be matched with first name and last name. If it is either in first name or last name, those rows will be displayed in this data grid view. If I want to search for James, I can do this. If I want to search for Smith, I can do this. If I want to delete this James 1 record, double click on it, then click on delete. It shows the successful message, delete successfully. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe to this channel .NET Mob. You can download this project source code and DB script from the link given below in video description. Please like and share this video with your friends and colleagues so that they can benefit from this. If you have any doubt or feedback, please comment below in comment box. Have a nice day. Bye.